Hello and welcome to this brief video where I am going to be quickly running through different versions of mastery points and system alignments so that you can check in with yourself and ask yourself, what kind of master are you? Now, as we jump into this, remember everyone's free to change. Just because you resonate with one thing or another at one moment or another, it does not lock you into these things for life. These are checkpoints meant for us to gauge our own energetic systems and workings against, sort of as productivity and quality check-ins, to see how we are looking and running our own exchanges in our own ways. These things are totally personal and individual, and they are based on intention. Intention may seem instinctual even at times. And so don't try to cast judgments or immediately critique or change or question about what comes up as immediate response. Feelings or visualizations or assumptions or anything like that. Try to be as open-minded as you can, both when you hear the terms as when you gauge them against your own self, your behaviors, your truths, your beliefs, even. Sometimes it can be hard to hear hard truths, and sometimes it can be hard to realize that we are making bad choices or retaining negative alignments. Other times, certain negative actions are necessary in order to balance other positive actions. And so, standalone, something may appear, not the best or not ideal. However, when balanced with something else, it creates a dichotomy of learning that is, the wisdom produced is exponentially valuable to the two. And so it's really worth it, right? To go through a hard time, to feel a hard thing, pain and hardships. So we need to remember what we're gauging against and what the overall purposes are again. Not to dive so deeply into either side or extreme that we forget that these two are dual reflections of a whole, and that the whole wants us to remember neutrality and find a harmonious solution for all. Okay? Real, positively aligned compromises that meet in an overall positive sense of neutrality and well-being for all. Not a negation that feels overall, like they try to put us in with this word compromise and make us feel like, oh, you let go of something to make others happy. That is an inverted and very distorted way to settle for an explanation. We can be sovereign, compassionate co-creators here and share external spaces and places with responsibility and accountability. We really can, if we allow and give ourselves the space to do such and act as such, and then leave others to hold themselves accountable as well. It really does reflect and work that way once you finally give it a chance. So with that little bit of a disclaimer and words here at the forefront, I'm going to now just run through a quick couple of things for us to check in on where our mastery lies. What type of master are we? And where do we and how do we attempt to exert our power and over that which is within our dominion? And again, that it maybe exert our power outside of our own dominion, perhaps. So first and foremost, let's do a quick check-in with how we think about ourselves as this master. Do you resonate with that at all? Or do you immediately jump to, why would I want to be a master? They hold a negative position of authority and force all the slaves underneath them to do things for their own benefit. And I don't want to put others at the expense of my own benefit. I would never call myself a master. That word sounds so degrading. And believe me, I have been there. I just did a whole section of episodes on that term and how to look at it in different ways. If you're interested in that and you jump to that right away and can't seem to break out of that, I'll put links in the description or down in the comments if it's BitChute you're finding me on, and be able to watch those previous videos to hear a bit about how to look at the term in a couple of different ways. But for those of us who can be comfortable in understanding that that jump to that negative alignment of mastery, we don't have to take that jump. It doesn't have to mean that. To a master in its own self, a master of his dominion, doesn't have slaves. It doesn't put itself in this hierarchy, pedestal position above others, forcing behaviors and ideologies on others to serve its self-serving system. Some masters, a master of its own dominion, recognizes its own sovereign worth, that it, in its mastery, is the reflection of God's source, the ultimate creator and infinite intelligence, and that its own face and space reflects that in all others, and that in order to be a true master of his own or her own place and space, and acknowledge that, we must extend that sovereignty out to others. Because it is a whole. That is an interlinking promise and truth. If I have it, so must all others. If I honor mine and I want goodness for myself and what is best for myself, I want what is best for all others around me. Because I would never want to hurt someone around me. When I see all others as an extension of God's source, right to life and creation, just as I am. And so mastery, a master who holds the initial truth in resonance and offers service from that place and space, is never going to cast its light downwardly on others and force behavior in that way. But yet you could still be a master. You can still own dominion over your place and space and your craft. We each really do have a divinely bestowed point of service, I believe, that gets bestowed along with you in your coordinate plane, the place and space that you're birthed within, I believe comes with purpose, designated gifts, right? And those are what spark service. That's what you're given to be a master of, and you work to cultivate and grow those as a student. To become a master of the craft because you love it so much. Right? Those who love music or love to sew or love to cook, right? All of these different affinities and interests that intuitively go towards those. Those are what you are birthed to become a master of. Yeah, you're not going to be one of those child savants. Maybe you're not a genius, but it's a cultivation. You're supposed to enjoy the learning of it. Someone who likes to paint, they love the process of painting, right? It's that in itself gives them joy, fuels their service, lights them up inside. That is the positive service at work right there. That is your mastery payment. Your currency is being valued and your being is being lighted up. You're being given energy while doing that service. And you're also making something into manifestations in a solid world, right? And that's another part of the craft of building. And it's ever-changing and morphing, and those who can own mastery in a positive sense embrace that kind of things, change and challenges, and it's new every time, and they want to make a new picture, and they see something new of inspiration to capture or to want to recreate, in their own way, to pay, to enjoy, more, literally. Right? To create a space where they can go back to and enjoy that thing again, to savor it. And in the master in itself, in that sense, acknowledges the master in all others because they see quality, they see beauty, they see the effort and the love that goes into that craft. This is why it's fueled by the one truth, and you have to acknowledge that there's a creator and great love at service and work and action here. And those who in negative alignment, they create their service to self because they don't want to believe that. Or they put it off to the side. They throw it in a corner somewhere and say, excuse it away. Yeah, I know that, but me first for now. And that in itself creates a self-serving artificial loop. And that's how we get into this state of mastery where, yes, I will put others underneath me in order to keep my self-serving system going for now, because later on X, Y, and Z will be taken care of, and they will get there somehow. And it's all about me and my perspective in my life. I live through my eyes, and so I should get what I need first for myself. And when I'm no longer here, that's the end. So why should I care about others or the whole? And again, this can almost be tricked into a valid working if you so choose to. And this is why it's such a strong mentality to break out of, and why it seems to be, with such strength when we hear the word master, or if you want to be, what kind of master are you? Immediately you sort of might be, oh, I don't want to be a master at all, or look, at certain ways that you just don't, we seem so forced into them, right? But anyways, now I've gotten out of the checklist, and let's jump back into it. Sorry for this, a bit of the side avenue here, but let's get into what kind of systems we run for ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to go back and forth so that we can hear the dichotomy of the different systems, the different masters. So a master who runs a negative system will be responding in one way, and a master who runs a positive system will have, of course, the other response. So we have self-sustaining, infinite system. Like I talked about just now, this is sort of where we have a call and service within us. It's already there. It's an inkling, a want, a desire to do a thing, to break out in a new way, to serve someone, to help, whatever the case is. It is an infinite discovery of manyness of purposes here. So it should be unique to you. And that in itself makes it self-sustaining, makes you self-sustaining, because your service and your gift is unique to you. And it's individual, and in that way it has great value and is priceless. So you have a self-sustaining, and you recognize your self-sustaining service, and you operate from this place of self-fulfillment, of already full in enoughness, just by being here and by following that call within yourself, by listening to your gut each day, by doing and finding your best way, and even in small little ways every day. That's a self-sustaining positive alignment. Versus a debt-based, limited, survival-based mindset, right? I have to find this to keep going. I need more of this because it's short. This isn't enough because I have to have this in order to have that for later. And you cannot recognize the worth within you. You will say and have excuses about why you're not self-sustaining enough. And we put all different reasons and excuses, but of course, like money is the one that comes to the forefront of mind. Oh, well, my thing isn't worth enough yet, or I'm not an expert in this, and I couldn't put high enough price tag on it yet, so this, and that. We really get based into those. So notice that, and just understand that in itself is a negative alignment. It's going to produce negative symptomatic reproduction unless you can balance it in some kind of way. This is the initial forefront. This is unbalanceable. This is the first truth. So this is the first checkpoint. And if you're already going over to the negative side here, then know that the ground that you're choosing to build everything off of is already negatively aligned. So you have to bring in a lot of positivity in order to ever shift that. And in fact, the moreness and the craving of hunger of the debt-based alignment, where money is actually built on this ever-growing mathematics of moreness, unfortunately, you can never have enough, and you will never have enough, because money just seems to never retain quite of its value. And as soon as you get to a point, there's always more needed. That in itself is, again, it's the truth of the negative system ringing out there. It's the low-key initial point. You'll never be enough. It's never enough. And if you subjugate yourself to that first lie, that's it. There's no getting out of it. You are a slave. You've become, you're no longer a true master of freedom, of sovereignty, of positive service. But all you have to do is remember your infinite worth and tap back into it and don your coat of sovereignty again. Put the crown on. Put your golden jacket on. Feel the ignition of your heart. Remember your own worth. Pick yourself back up again. Dust yourself off. Whatever that drink is, whatever that fulfillment is, pat on a back, a hug, whatever you need. Give that to yourself. Remember that thing that sparked you as a child, that gift that you had, that one purpose, or that one thing that somebody said to you that you had done or made or offered that really that gave you such praise that you knew was your calling. Remember those things, and you just give, that immediately shifts the polarity. That brings you back into a chance of positivity and creates infinite positive working again. And then of course you'll bump into these chances to bend it negatively again. But if you can get back to that positive working, that runs clear current through for the rest of the dominoes to fall in positive space again. And what does more positive space look like? Let's get into that, right? Where we have infinite energy versus limited energies. We respect others, right? We have this sovereign gift within ourselves of the one whole truth. And that says, I have a purpose because I am a fractal piece of source. I am a fractal piece of source, as all others out here are, a divine reflection of that same fractal source, sovereign right of exploration. Source gives it to us all equally. In that partnership, in that shake of a hand, you have to offer to all others. It has to be extended out infinitely to all. If you start to negate and you start to withdraw that handshake to certain others in some sort of case scenarios, there you go. We're bending light again. We're subjugating service yet again. And you are closing off positive, open to all, acceptance in all directions. 360-degree extended in service, light, and also input and incoming information. Now, we cannot accept all of that. We're not meant to. Our light bodies are not created to do that. So don't feel bad. We need to hold certain boundaries. Into things. This is where light bends into service to others and service to self, and we need to understand about what positive service to others and positive service to self looks like. And it's a retainment of positive boundary, of isness, of what is right and correct, what is helpful, positive, and good, and what is hurtful, harmful, and bad. What we should allow versus what we should not allow. And so we have to do good working of discernment to do balancing work here. And so, of course, when we're asking ourselves what type of masters we are, the line becomes, do we respect others or do we abuse others? This is where the master asks, okay, is my service of self, is the service that I'm doing of my self-service, the service I am divinely bestowed to offer, the service of myself, do I serve myself and offer my service in a grand reflection and great intention of ownership that I am a reflection of all others? Do I hold myself as a variable placeholder of God, source, intelligent, where all others, my children, my husband, my father, my mother, a sibling, anyone I could swap places with, and would I serve them the same? Would I extend out that same exact service that I'm extending to myself to another? And if the answer is yes, yes, I would, yes, then we know we are in that place of sovereign respect to others. And if you can empathetically do that work and extend that out, oh, it is so difficult. It is so hard to do, I'm not even claiming that I'm a master of this. I am learning. I'm a mere student of this type of work. Because a master says, yes, I do that with my enemy. I do that with even those who I don't like and disagree with. And can we even imagine that? It's so difficult to do. But it's not impossible. It's a potential out there to be built and to cast our gaze towards. But again, in seeking service, we want to respect all others. So we want to respect ourselves in that great service. When we work to respect those that we love around us in that way, and those that we know, and friends and family, neighbors, those we interact with, right? To extend out the same respect. And to say that I would not exclude them from service in a way that would hurt them on purpose, right? That is where negative alignments come in. That's where we're abusing others. This is where we jump into the opposite version of mastery, the master over a slave, the negative authoritative position of service to self that is true, actual negative service to self. An inorganic, inverted, imbalanced flipping of mastery to where we say, yeah, I will actually abuse others in service to myself. If it takes what it takes to get me what I need and what I want, I'm going to do anything. I'm going to step on throats and do everything and anything to get what I need. That type of segregation and exclusion to the harm and expense of others, that is a negative self-service. That rejects complete truth, and it takes a great orientation and harnessing of negativity and darkness in order to do. And if we have that mentality running, which that is fed to us, survival of the fittest is really fed to us, this kind of winner takes all, schoolyard bully, capture the flag mentality. It's this imperialistic domination of the strongest, survival of the fittest thing. It kind of is the name of the game, or fed to the mainstream matrix people in the rat race. Now, I don't bow down to that system. I don't work within that system, and I haven't even been a part of that mainstream system in a long time. But I do acknowledge and know that there are great masses there doing that. And so to them, that might even sound like, oh, that's regular. Oh, well, wow, I'm negatively aligned just by doing that. But yes, we are. And that is deeply into negative alignments already. So if you're already down into that and feel like that's a homeostasis, a point of regular operations for you, take it as a checkpoint. You can back out of that, just like I showed how to back out of the ultimate one. It's all the same backing out. It's just the same way out is the same way you came in. It's all, the exit point always shines with the same word, exit. It's the one truth. It's just remembering your light and your great gift, your individual sovereign point. And as soon as you do remember that, and you remember great God Source gave you that point, you remember great God Source and how they give that point to all others. And then you remember your pivotal point within the whole. There, your joining, your crumbs hands are right there. The birds never ate them, don't worry. The path was worn by walking. So you can turn and follow it home very easily because we know it. And to get great negative alignments, you've really had to stomp along. You've walked that path quite often. It's been tread. So follow exit, that one word back, the one truth, and you will find back to initial positive mastery in your own place and space, and you'll be able to correct those commands. And downward through your systems, managers and bosses, that positive tone will be heard, and harmonizations of commands will be found again. Positive and productivity, all the workers will remember, and the problems will be solved, and the managers will report back great work and productivity, and the bosses above them will be very happy, and all of a sudden the CEO master of self will know, yes, positive productivity feels so much more in alignment. I'm gaining much better momentum when I honor my truth, when I offer service in alignment with Source and my highest purpose, when I seek to share and accept my place and space in the whole picture. And I can prosper from that place, actually. I'm already abundant in my place and standing, actually. I have all that I need. And I'm able to honor that and create true wealth in my place and space, and then help others around me and find such a larger version of wealth echoed out and reflected in the others around you for free exchange that isn't burdensome, that isn't all slaves trying to, share scarce resources between each other with this great burdens and martyrdom and all this self-serve, so negative around. If we could step out of that and remember prosperity, we wouldn't be doing this hoarding and saving and stagnating in all these quiet corners and scared to offer any sort of positive alignments out there. We wouldn't be so focused on our own present needs and fight or flight desires, because we wouldn't be stuck in these really firm boundaries, denying our own worth at the end of the day. So let's go through one last little bits of sort of checkpoints here that I'll read before I close out this video, which has gone a little longer than I wanted to. But these are kind of our own ways that we can recognize different truths that we might be telling ourselves, positive versus negative, and to gauge and help yourself bring yourself back to positive mastery. So we have grounded in the present moment with gratitude versus focused on past or future with dissatisfaction. Motivated by love due to truth of abundance, or motivated by wants due to truth of lack. Eternal, unlimited, infinite, and never-ending. Limited, conditional, and has an impending end. Unity, harmony, emphasized. Separation, chaos, emphasized. Derives power from connection to oneness. Oneness is denied, restricted, or blocked. Offers service freely with no expectations. Service offered with heavy expectations. Never reliant on others or externally motivated. Completely dependent and reliant on input from others. Worth is bestowed at the point of creation and cannot be externally attained. Worth must be given or earned. It is externally based. Now, this is one of the fundamental truths of oneness and wholeness, and one of the pivotal defining points between light and shadow, I believe, and in between service to self and service to others. If we have worth being bestowed at the point of creation, that says it's already there. It can never be externally attained. What does that tell us right there? You can't find it outside. Can't be brought outside. It's from before and after. It's something so personal. It's for each of us. Yet we're so caught up in this externally based, earned and given versions of it everywhere. And so we should really remember that those are false constructions, and that we should really, anytime we're being overly idealistic of those, we should really be remembering what they are. They're false idols out there. Not to sound too, biblical or anything, because I'm not even really a church person, but just to know that it's a shadow. It's a false version, a shadow puppet that you're idolizing. silly in itself. So to bring it back to realness and truth is always the key point, and it's the harmonizing note, you know. So thank you for listening to this sort of quick check-in. I hope it's offered people a space and place to come to try to define what type of work they're doing, and to be cognitive conscious check-in what kind of work they'll do in the future. So this is, points that I do contemplative sort of alchemy work within my own self, bouncing around and asking myself throughout my days and moments and weeks, and finding it's so helpful, so transmutational. The benefits are endless. I just cannot go past a day without seeing great benefits from it. So, that's what brings me to really this topic and sharing this video. And so thank you so much for listening. Thank you for witnessing my contribution to the collective, and thank you for yours. See you next time.